A manufacturing company had invested significant time and resources into a new process improvement project. The project team included representatives from quality, production, engineering, and purchasing. Weekly meetings were held, action lists were distributed, and management received regular updates showing that everything was progressing according to plan. On paper, there appeared to be no obvious problems. Attendance was excellent. Deadlines were being tracked. Team members were polite and professional. Every meeting concluded with apparent agreement on the next steps. 3 months later, however, the project began to unravel. A critical process change had not been implemented correctly. Production staff were following one interpretation of the agreed procedure, while engineering believed a different approach had been approved. Quality personnel assumed additional verification activities would take place, while production managers believed those checks had already been completed. The result was confusion, rework, delayed implementation, and rising frustration between departments. Management wanted to know what had gone wrong. The first assumption was that somebody had failed to follow instructions. However, when the project team was interviewed, something interesting emerged. Every individual involved genuinely believed they had understood the decisions made during the project meetings. Nobody had intentionally ignored instructions. Nobody was withholding information. Nobody was deliberately creating obstacles. The problem lay elsewhere. During the meetings, several key phrases had been interpreted differently by different departments. Team members had left with different assumptions about responsibilities, timelines, and expected outcomes. Some participants had concerns but chose not to raise them because they believed the questions might already have been addressed. Others assumed that silence from colleagues indicated agreement. The project had not failed because people were unwilling to cooperate. The project struggled because people believed they shared the same understanding when they did not. This is a common communication risk within organizations. The visible problem often appears as a process failure, performance issue, or implementation mistake. Yet the root cause may be hidden within earlier conversations where assumptions quietly replaced clarification. Using the MC3 method, the focus shifts away from assigning blame and towards understanding how communication created the conditions for misunderstanding and prevent them from happening again. Instead of asking, "Who made the mistake?" the more useful question becomes, "How did intelligent, capable people leave the same meeting with different understandings of what had been agreed?" Once this question was explored, the organization introduced several simple communication controls. Responsibilities were confirmed verbally at the end of meetings, key decisions were summarized using plain language, and team members were encouraged to challenge assumptions before actions were assigned. The improvements were not complex. However, they made invisible misunderstandings visible before they could develop into costly problems. MC3 lesson. Communication is not measured by attendance, participation, or agreement. It is measured by shared understanding. When organizations focus only on what was said, hidden risks remain invisible. When they focus on what was understood, the real causes of many operational problems begin to emerge.